Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Morgan was enjoying her second cup of coffee when the message that would change her life pinged on her terminal. She nearly choked on the bitter liquid as she read the official seal of the Galactic Council emblazoned across the top of the document. "What the hell?" she muttered, placing her mug down with enough force to splash coffee onto her desk. Alex had never received direct communication from the Galactic Council before. No human had, except for admirals and diplomats, neither of which described her. The message itself was perplexing in its brevity. The Galactic Council cordially requests the presence of an Earth representative at a ceremonial event of significant importance on Nexus VI. The gathering will strengthen interstellar bonds and showcase the unity of intelligent species across the known universe. Formal attendance is expected in 3 standard cycles. Alex stared at the screen, her brow furrowed. Ceremonial event. What does that even mean? She forwarded the message to her commanding officer, Admiral Jenkins, hoping he would designate anyone else for this mysterious assignment. Alex was a soldier, not a diplomat. Her specialty was combat operations, not ceremonial events, whatever those were. 20 minutes later, Admiral Jenkins' hologram materialized in her office, his weathered face set in what Alex had come to recognize as his non-negotiable expression. "Morgan, you've been selected for this assignment. With all due respect, sir, I'm not the right person. I don't do ceremonies. I do combat." Jenkins sighed. "That's precisely why you've been chosen. The Galactic Council specifically requested someone with field experience." "Field experience for a ceremony?" Alex raised an eyebrow. "Earth is still new to the galactic community," Jenkins explained. "We need to show that humans aren't just scientists and politicians. We're also warriors, defenders. The Council wants to see all facets of humanity. Couldn't we send someone who at least enjoys wearing dress uniforms?" "Morgan, this isn't a request. It's an order." Jenkins' hologram flickered slightly as he leaned forward. "Earth needs allies out there. This is about diplomacy, yes, but it's also about respect. You command respect." Alex knew when she was beaten. "Fine, what exactly is this ceremonial event?" "The details are sparse. The Council often operates on a need-to-know basis with newer member species." "And what am I supposed to do there?" "Represent Earth. Show them what humans are capable of. Make an impression." Alex snorted. "Oh, I'll make an impression, all right." Jenkins' expression softened slightly. "Look, I know this isn't your idea of a good time, but it's important. The message mentioned showcasing unity. I'm thinking it's some kind of military demonstration or capability exhibition." That caught Alex's attention. "So they want to see our combat readiness." "That would be my interpretation," Jenkins nodded. "Show them that despite being newcomers, Earth can hold its own." Alex straightened her posture. Military demonstrations she could handle. Maybe this wouldn't be so bad after all. "One more thing," Jenkins added before disconnecting. "Take your Mark VI battle armor. If they want to see Earth's capabilities, let's give them something to remember." As the hologram faded, Alex smiled for the first time since receiving the message. Her Mark V was her pride and joy, the latest in Earth's combat technology, equipped with enhanced strength servos, defensive shields, and non-lethal weapon systems perfect for demonstrations. "Make an impression," she repeated to herself, already mentally reviewing the armor's specs and capabilities. If the Galactic Council wanted to see what humans could do, she would damn well show them. What Alex Morgan didn't realize was that she had just agreed to attend the most significant diplomatic event of the decade, and she was preparing for an entirely different occasion altogether. "Tess, run diagnostics on the Mark VI's shield modulators again," Alex commanded, her voice echoing in the spacious cargo bay of her personal transport vessel. "Diagnostics complete," responded the ship's AI assistant in a pleasantly modulated voice. "Shield capacity at 99.8%. The 0.2% variance is within acceptable parameters." Alex nodded, satisfied, as she continued polishing the chest plate of her battle armor. The Mark V stood 7 feet tall when fully assembled, a gleaming testament to human engineering. Its midnight blue exterior was accented with silver trim that caught the light as she worked. "Lieutenant Commander, may I suggest reviewing the cultural briefing on Nexus VI?" Tess inquired. "My analysis of the invitation indicates this may be more of a formal social gathering than a military demonstration." Alex dismissed the concern with a wave of her hand. "Jenkins was clear they want to see our capabilities. Besides, the invitation mentioned showcasing unity among species. What better way to show unity than demonstrating how we can all defend each other?" The phrasing ceremonial event typically denotes. "Tess, pull up the threat assessment for Nexus VI instead," Alex interrupted. "I want to know what kind of defensive capabilities their species have developed." The AI paused before complying. "Nexus V is considered a neutral diplomatic hub with minimal military presence. Their technology focuses primarily on communication, transportation, and sustainable habitat design." "Perfect," Alex smiled. "So their defensive capabilities are limited. That means they'll be even more impressed by the Mark VI." She attached the final piece of the armor's external plating and stepped back to admire her work. The battle armor gleamed under the cargo bay lights, its imposing silhouette both beautiful and terrifying. Alex had personally modified several of its systems, including the neural interface that allowed for near-instantaneous reaction times. It was overkill for a demonstration, perhaps, but she wanted to leave no doubt about Earth's technological prowess. 3 days later, Alex boarded the interstellar transport vessel Harmonic Convergence, a battle armor securely packed in specialized containers. She had expected a military transport, or at least a standard passenger vessel. Instead, she found herself on what appeared to be the equivalent of a luxury cruise liner. The ship's interior was adorned with flowing fabrics in iridescent colors. Delicate crystal structures hung from the ceilings, catching and refracting light in hypnotic patterns. Most surprising, however, were the other passengers. Alex stood in the entrance hall, still in her standard Earth military uniform, surrounded by aliens of various species dressed in what could only be described as extreme formal wear. A Cetarian floated by, its translucent body draped in what appeared to be liquid silver. A pair of Voltar twins strutted past wearing matching outfits made from some kind of living material that shifted colors in response to their movements. A tall, willowy being with 4 arms approached her, each limb adorned with intricate jewelry that chimed softly as they moved. First time attending a Nexian ceremonial event, the alien asked in perfectly translated Common. Yes, Alex replied, suddenly feeling underdressed in her military uniform. "I'm representing Earth." The alien's eyes, all 3 of them, widened slightly. "Earth, how fascinating. We've heard such interesting things about your species." The alien extended a long-fingered hand. "I am Drelix, cultural attaché to the Severian Collective." "Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Morgan," she replied, shaking the offered hand carefully. "A military title," Drelix observed. "An Mostate. How unique for such an occasion." Before Alex could ask what exactly that meant, a ship-wide announcement indicated they would be departing shortly and all passengers should retire to their quarters for the initial jump to faster-than-light travel. Once inside her cabin, Alex activated Tess through her portable communicator. "Tess, I think there might be some confusion about this event." "I've been attempting to tell you that, Lieutenant Commander," the AI responded, a hint of what sounded almost like satisfaction in its synthetic voice. "Based on the attire of the other passengers, this appears to be a high-profile social gathering." Alex frowned. "But Jenkins said..." Admiral Jenkins interpreted the invitation based on limited information, Tess explained. "New data suggests his interpretation may have been incorrect." "So what exactly am I heading into?" "Yeah." Tess paused before responding. "Insufficient data for a complete analysis, but current evidence suggests a diplomatic ceremony of significant importance. Possibly a treaty signing, cultural exchange, or..." The ship lurched as it entered FTL speed, cutting off the AI's response and leaving Alex with a growing sense of unease about what awaited her on Nexus VI. The Harmonic Convergence dropped out of FTL with a gentle shudder, and the view outside Alex's cabin viewport shifted from the swirling chaos of hyperspace to the breathtaking sight of Nexus Vi. The planet was a vibrant azure sphere, its surface interspersed with emerald continents and surrounded by 3 concentric rings that glowed with bioluminescent light. Approaching Nexus Vi Central Docking Station, announced the ship's captain over the intercom. "All passengers for the Royal Union ceremony, please prepare for disembarkation." Alex, who had been making final adjustments to her battle armor's propulsion system, froze. "Royal what now?" "A Royal Union ceremony," Tess replied helpfully through her communicator. "Colloquially known as a wedding in Earth terminology." "A wedding?" Alex's voice rose an octave. "I'm going to a wedding with battle armor." "I did attempt to warn you about the performal nature of the event," Tess reminded her. Alex paced the small cabin. "Jenkins said it was a military demonstration." "Admiral Jenkins made an incorrect assumption based on limited information," Tess explained with mechanical patience. "The Galactic Council's invitation was deliberately vague, as is their custom when dealing with newer member species." "Whose wedding is this anyway?" Alex demanded, though she was already dreading the answer. According to ship records and news feeds, today marks the union of Prince Zorn of the Nexian Empire and Princess Lyra of the Arcturus Collective, a match that unites 2 major galactic powers and ends 3 centuries of Cold War. Alex collapsed onto her bunk. "So it's not just any wedding. It's the wedding. The galactic event of the century. The millennium," actually, Tess corrected. "The last comparable diplomatic union occurred approximately 872 standard years ago." "And I'm Earth's representative," Alex groaned, burying her face in her hands with battle armor. When the ship docked, Alex had no choice but to proceed. Earth needed this positive diplomatic exposure, and she was the only human for light years. Backing out wasn't an option. She considered leaving the armor behind, but her military uniform alone would still be woefully inadequate for such an occasion. Besides, her orders had been specific: represent Earth and its capabilities. The armor was coming with her, dignity be damned. As she stepped off the ship in full Mark V battle armor, standing a full 7 feet tall, with her helmet tucked under one arm, the arrival hall fell momentarily silent. Hundreds of elegantly dressed beings from across the galaxy turned to stare at the human who looked ready for combat rather than celebration. The arrival hall itself was a testament to Nexian architectural prowess. Soaring arches of some crystalline material captured and amplified light, creating rainbow patterns that danced across the gathered dignitaries. Floating platforms carried musicians playing instruments that defied Earth classification, producing harmonies that seemed to physically manifest as shimmering waves in the air. An official-looking Nexian approached her, their 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of surprise, Alex recalled from her hasty research on the journey. "Earth representative?" the Nexian asked, consulting a hovering data pad. "Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Morgan," she confirmed, fighting the urge to fidget in her oversized armor. "Representing Earth at the royal ceremony." The Nexian's outer eyes blinked again, while the inner pair remained fixed on her armor. "Indeed. Your attire is most unexpected." "It's traditional Earth formal battle dress," Alex improvised, standing straighter. "For ceremonies of the highest importance." The Nexian seemed uncertain but nodded. "Very well. Please follow the illuminated path to the Grand Ceremonial Hall. The pre-union reception is about to begin." As Alex clanked her way through the arrival hall, the whispers followed her like a wave. "Is Earth at war? Perhaps it's a cultural misunderstanding? No, I heard humans always dress for potential combat. Fascinating species. So practical, ready for celebration or conflict at a moment's notice." Alex kept her eyes forward, her face a mask of military composure, even as she internally cycled through every curse word she knew in 5 languages. The armor's servos whirred softly with each step, the sound painfully loud to her ears in the otherwise elegant atmosphere. When she reached the entrance to the Grand Ceremonial Hall, a hovering camera drone zoomed over to capture her image, undoubtedly broadcasting it across thousands of worlds. Alex froze, then made a split-second decision. If she was going to embarrass herself and her planet, she might as well commit fully. She snapped to attention and executed a perfect military salute, the armor's servos giving the gesture additional emphasis. Earth honors the union of Prince Zorn and Princess Lyra, she declared in a clear, confident voice that carried across the entrance hall. The gathered aliens burst into appreciative murmurs, apparently interpreting her military bearing as a sign of the highest respect rather than the desperate improvisation it actually was. As she lowered her arm, Alex caught a glimpse of her reflection in a nearby crystalline wall, 7 feet of gleaming battle armor amid flowing fabrics and delicate ornaments. She looked like she had arrived to conquer the wedding, not attend it. Too late to turn back now. The grand ceremonial hall was a marvel of interstellar architecture, a vast open space where the ceiling appeared to be the actual starfield above, though Alex knew they were indoors. Crystalline tables floated at various heights, creating a 3-dimensional reception area where anti-gravity platforms allowed guests to mingle at different levels. Alex's armor, thankfully equipped with propulsion stabilizers, allowed her to navigate the unusual space without incident. The same could not be said for her social navigation. "Earth human," called a voice from her left, "your battle attire is magnificent. Are you anticipating conflict?" Alex turned to find herself face to face with a Draxian ambassador, recognizable by their distinctive golden scaled skin and elaborate head crest. "No, not at all," she replied quickly. "This is ceremonial." Fascinating. The Draxian's eyes widened, so humans armed themselves as a sign of respect. How pragmatic. How? Before Alex could correct this misinterpretation, the Draxian had already drifted away to share this insight with others. Within minutes, Alex overheard various versions of human wedding customs being discussed across the hall, each more wildly inaccurate than the last. Untold humans believe that if a union ceremony isn't threatened at least once, the marriage is doomed to fail, one alien whispered to another. Apparently on Earth, the more heavily armed the guests, the greater honor they show the couple, added another. Alex sighed, resigning herself to becoming an unintentional anthropological case study. At least no one seemed offended by her appearance, quite the contrary, her armor was drawing admiring looks and curious questions. The trouble began when she attempted to sample the refreshments. The armor's gauntlets, designed for weapons handling and extreme conditions, lacked the dexterity required for the delicate crystal flutes being offered by hovering service drones. After nearly crushing her third glass, Alex decided to rely on her armor's built-in hydration system instead. Unfortunately, this involved a tube that extended from her helmet, which she had to put on just to take a drink, creating the impression she was preparing for immediate combat every time she got thirsty. "Excuse me," a quiet voice said from slightly below her, "but are you really from Earth?" Alex looked down to see a small Nexian, with unusually pale skin for their species and nervous, rapidly blinking eyes. Unlike most guests who wore flowing, ornate attire, this Nexian's clothes were relatively simple, though clearly expensive. "Yes, I am," she answered, retracting her helmet's drinking tube. "Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Morgan. I'm Krill." The Nexian introduced himself, third cousin to Prince Zorn, and, thankfully, far enough removed from the royal line to avoid most ceremonial duties. Alex immediately warmed to his self-deprecating tone. "Nice to meet someone who isn't asking about my traditional battle dress." Krill's inner eyes crinkled in what she recognized as a Nexian smile. "Is it really traditional, or did someone give you bad information about the ceremony?" "Let's just say there was a miscommunication," Alex admitted. "My superior officer thought this was a military demonstration." Krill made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Well, your timing might be accidentally perfect. Not everyone is happy about this union." Alex's combat-trained senses immediately heightened. "What do you mean?" "The Arcturus-Nexian marriage ends centuries of political tension, but creates new ones," Krill explained, lowering his voice. "The Drax Confederation sees the Union as a power grab, and the Severians worry about trade agreements." "Political tensions at a wedding? That sounds universal across species," Alex commented, but her mind was already cataloguing potential security threats. As she and Krill continued their conversation, Her armor's audio enhancement system, designed for battlefield communications, began picking up fragments of conversations that the standard translation systems were struggling with. It positioned on the lower observation after the final vow exchange synchronized with the Unity crystal activation. The phrases were disconnected, coming from different speakers across the hall, but Alex's combat-trained mind started assembling the pieces. Something was planned for the ceremony itself, centered around the Unity crystal Krill had casually mentioned was the focal point of the marriage ritual. "Krill," she said carefully, "these tensions you mentioned, how serious are they?" The Nexian's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "Serious enough that security has been tripled, though it's been kept subtle to avoid diplomatic incidents. And would anyone benefit if this wedding were to not proceed as planned?" Krill's outer eyes widened while his inner ones narrowed a Nexian expression of alarm. "You think someone would dare?" He was interrupted by a melodic chime that resonated throughout the hall. "The ceremony will begin in 10-time units," announced a disembodied voice. "All guests please proceed to the Unity chamber." As the crowd began moving toward a series of large archways, Alex made a quick decision. Her armor wasn't just a social embarrassment anymore, it might be exactly what was needed. "Krill, who's in charge of security?" she asked urgently. "The Commander Vex of the Nexian Royal Guard, but I don't think you'll be able to speak with him before the ceremony." Alex nodded. "Then I'll have to handle this myself." "Piggies." "Handle what?" Krill asked, his voice rising slightly. But Alex was already activating her armor's full combat systems, the helmet sealing into place with a soft pneumatic hiss. "Tess," she subvocalized to her AI, "run full spectral analysis on all guests and identify any weapons or unauthorized technology." "Scanning," the AI responded. "Warning, multiple energy signatures detected that could indicate concealed weapons. Cannot confirm hostile intent." Alex followed the crowd toward the Unity chamber, now grateful for her armor and the miscommunication that had brought it here. What had begun as a diplomatic embarrassment might just become Earth's first intergalactic heroic moment. Beside her, Krill hurried to keep pace, his 4 eyes darting nervously between her now fully activated battle armor and the oblivious wedding guests flowing around them. The Unity chamber defied physics in ways that would have fascinated Alex under different circumstances. The vast spherical room seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, with guests seated on what appeared to be the inside surface of a sphere, all somehow oriented up, despite the impossible geometry. At the chamber's center floated a massive crystal with countless facets, each reflecting light in different spectra, some visible to humans, others clearly designed for species with different visual capabilities. Alex positioned herself near what appeared to be a less crowded area, her armor's enhanced vision scanning the gathered guests. Tess had identified 12 potential weapons signatures scattered throughout the chamber, though many could be diplomatic sidearms or ceremonial devices. "The energy pattern near the southeastern quadrant is inconsistent with standard diplomatic protocols," Tess informed her. 3 signatures forming a triangulation pattern around the Unity crystal. "Can you pinpoint exact locations?" Alex subvocalized. "Negative. The chamber's unusual properties are interfering with precise localization." A hush fell over the assembly as Prince Zorn and Princess Lyra entered from opposite sides of the chamber. The prince was tall even for a Nexian, his 4 eyes a rare violet color that marked the royal bloodline. The princess, an Arcturian, seemed to shimmer as she moved, her skin refracting light in patterns that created a subtle halo effect. They approached the central crystal, each followed by attendants carrying what appeared to be ceremonial objects. The couple began circling the crystal in opposite directions, their pace precisely choreographed to the music that seemed to emanate from the crystal itself. Alex's attention, however, was focused elsewhere. Her armor's sensors had detected a power spike from one of the suspicious signatures. "Energy buildup detected," Tess warned, a pattern consistent with weapon charging sequence. Alex began moving carefully through the guests, using her armor's enhanced strength to navigate without causing disruption. The unusual architecture of the room meant she could approach from an angle that would be impossible without her armor's propulsion system. The ceremony progressed to what Krill had earlier explained was the vow exchange. Prince Zorn and Princess Lyra now stood on opposite sides of the crystal, their hands extended toward it. The crystal began to pulse with increasing intensity. Energy spike reaching critical levels, Tess alerted. 3 seconds to discharge. Alex didn't hesitate. She activated her armor's full thrust capacity and launched across the chamber, directly toward the Unity crystal. Gasps and cries of shock erupted from the assembled guests as a human in battle armor suddenly rocketed through the sacred ceremony. Simultaneously, 3 beams of destructive energy converged on the crystal from different points in the chamber. Alex intercepted the first beam with her armor's shield, deflecting it harmlessly upward. The second beam struck her armor's reinforced back plating as she positioned herself between the attackers and the royal couple. The third beam hit the crystal directly, causing it to flare dangerously. Cracks began to form along its surface. "The crystal is becoming unstable," Tess reported. Potential energy release could be catastrophic. Alex made a split-second decision. She activated her armor's magnetic grapples, securing the now unstable crystal, and engaged the containment field, usually reserved for capturing volatile materials in combat zones. "Assassins at coordinates Alpha 7, Beta 3, and Gamma 9, she called out loudly, her armor's external speakers amplifying her voice throughout the chamber. Royal security teams converge on those positions. The chamber erupted into controlled chaos as Nexian and Arcturian security personnel who had been disguised as guests moved with practiced precision toward the coordinates Alex had called out. Using her armor's enhanced strength, Alex carefully stabilized the damaged Unity crystal, the containment field glowing blue around its fracturing surface. Crystal stabilization, at 64% and rising, Tess informed her. Recommend maintaining containment for at least 30 more seconds. As security forces apprehended the would-be assassins, members of a fringe faction that opposed the political alliance, Alex became aware that every eye in the chamber was focused on her. The human in battle armor was literally holding together the ceremonial centerpiece of the most important wedding in centuries. Prince Zorn approached her, his 4 eyes blinking in what her limited knowledge of Nexian expressions suggested was amazement. "Earth representative," he said formally, "you have preserved not only our lives but the symbol of our union." Princess Lyra joined him, her luminescent skin pulsing with what seemed to be emotion. "Your presence in battle attire, we thought it merely a cultural curiosity. Now we understand it was foresight." "The crystal is stable," Alex reported, carefully deactivating the containment field, though it sustained some damage. "Say." The crystal, now floating freely again, had indeed changed. What were once invisible fractures now glowed with golden light, creating new patterns across its surface. "Not damage," Princess Lyra corrected, wonder in her voice. "Transformation. The crystal has recorded your act of protection. It is now part of our union story." The chamber, silent moments before, suddenly erupted in applause and various species-specific expressions of approval. Alex's helmet sensors were almost overwhelmed by the volume. "Well," she muttered to herself as she retracted her helmet, "I guess this is one way to make a first impression." 3 days later, Lieutenant Commander Alexandra Morgan stood before the combined royal courts of Nexus and Arcturus, still in her battle armor, though this time by request rather than misunderstanding. The original ceremony had resumed after a brief delay, with Alex's unexpected intervention becoming incorporated into the ritual, as if it had been planned all along. "Lieutenant Commander Morgan," Prince Zorn addressed her formally, his 4 eyes focused intently on her. "Your actions have not only saved our union but have demonstrated the true spirit of Earth in a way no planned presentation could have." Princess Lyra stepped forward, holding what appeared to be a small fragment of the Unity crystal that now glowed with an internal golden light. "We wish to present you with this token of our gratitude. It is a piece of the Unity crystal that absorbed the energy of your protective action." Alex accepted the crystal fragment with as much grace as her armored gauntlets would allow. "On behalf of Earth, I am honored," she replied, having spent the previous evening memorizing the formal response Tess had prepared for her. Furthermore, continued Prince Zorn, we have communicated with your Admiral Jenkins regarding your exemplary representation of Earth's capabilities. Alex winced internally at the mention of Jenkins. She'd sent him a brief, heavily edited account of events, emphasizing the positive outcomes while downplaying the initial misunderstanding. The Galactic Council has extended an invitation for Earth to establish a permanent presence within the diplomatic corps, announced Princess Lyra. Specifically, they have requested a new position be created, security consultant to the Interspecies Diplomatic Service, and they have requested you specifically, Lieutenant Commander, added Prince Zorn. Alex blinked in surprise. Me? But I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. Perhaps what the galactic community needs is precisely that combination, suggested Princess Lyra. Someone who understands both conflict and protection. Krill, who had been standing quietly at the side of the royal dais, stepped forward. If I may, your highnesses, he said with a formal bow. Lieutenant Commander Morgan's unique approach, arriving prepared for any contingency, rather than merely ceremony, represents a perspective that has been lacking in our diplomatic circles. Prince Zorn's inner eyes crinkled in what Alex now recognized as amusement. Indeed, humans are fascinating creatures who are brilliantly prepared for any occasion, even ones they did not anticipate attending. The gathered court laughed appreciatively, and Alex found herself smiling despite her embarrassment. I would be honored to accept the position, she said finally, though I might need some guidance on actual diplomatic protocols. I would be happy to assist with that aspect, offered Krill, his pale skin flushing slightly. The formal reception concluded shortly thereafter, and Alex found herself in a small antechamber with Krill, examining her new diplomatic credentials. So, she said, finally removing her helmet and running a hand through her compressed hair, does this mean I'm expected to wear battle armor to all diplomatic functions? Because I do own normal clothes. Krill's 4 eyes blinked in amusement. I believe the armor is now considered your formal attire, though perhaps you could have a more ceremonial version, designed one that doesn't include quite so many weapons. Speaking of which, Alex said, examining the crystal fragment she'd been given, what exactly am I supposed to do with this? The fragment contains a record of your protective action, Krill explained. In our culture, it's considered a powerful symbol of one's true nature revealed in a moment of crisis. Yours showed courage, quick thinking, and a willingness to place yourself in danger to protect others, qualities highly valued across most intelligent species. Alex turned the crystal in her hand, watching the golden light shift within it. It's beautiful, she admitted. Though I still can't believe this whole situation. I came here expecting to demonstrate Earth's military capabilities and ended up stopping an assassination at a royal wedding and creating a permanent position for Earth in the galactic diplomatic community, Krill reminded her. Not bad for someone who showed up to the wrong event. Next time, Alex said with a wry smile, I'm bringing both my battle armor and a nice dress to cover all contingencies. As they walked together toward the diplomatic quarters where Alex would be temporarily housed until formal arrangements could be made, she couldn't help but reflect on the absurdity of it all. Her miscommunication had somehow led to Earth gaining unprecedented respect in the galactic community. Admiral Jenkins' holographic message that morning had been brief but pointed. Morgan, I don't know whether to court-martial you or promote you, since the Galactic Council seems to favor the latter. Consider yourself Earth's first interspecies security consultant. Try not to start any wars during peace negotiations. Alex smiled at the memory. As they reached the diplomatic quarter, she turned to Krill. You know, on Earth we have a saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have. I guess showing up in battle armor to a wedding worked out in the end. Indeed, agreed Krill. Though perhaps for your first official diplomatic function next week, we might consider something less intimidating. Next week? Alex asked. What's happening next week? The post-union celebration banquet, Krill explained, and much more relaxed than the ceremony itself. No weapons required. Alex laughed, the sound echoing slightly inside the diplomatic hall. No promises. but I'll consider upgrading to diplomatic armor, maybe with some decorative elements." As they parted ways, Alex looked down at her battered battle armor, and now bearing scorch marks from deflected assassination attempts and scratches from stabilizing an ancient ceremonial artifact. Not exactly how she'd expected to make humanity's mark on the galactic stage, but effective nonetheless. Sometimes, she reflected, the best diplomatic statement was simply being prepared for anything, even if you showed up to the wrong event entirely.